Haikyuu is a story about losers. With every match played, a winner and a loser are declared. But few series are as gracious with the losers as Haikyuu. Instead of being one-note opposing forces for Karasuno, each team is given their own chance to explore the emotions of losing. The losing team is never discarded. There are always moments of catharsis for them. For some, it may just be that they have promising players who need a little bit more refining, or sometimes it's just that they happen to lose this time. But once we enter the spring tournament, Furudate makes sure to give each losing team their moment. So for this video, I'm intending it to be 2 degrees. There's a spoiler warning for those who haven't watched the Battle for the Garbage Set movie, and then after that, there will be a spoiler for the rest of the manga. Anyways, on to the actual point of the video. I want to start off the losers with Karasuno. Their first loss against Awa Josai is the first sign that Furudate really understands the impact of losing. Karasuno is a team budding with potential from the get-go, especially with the addition of Hinata and Kageyama's free quick attack. But in its first stage, it is deeply flawed. It relies on complete faith from Hinata to know that Kageyama will send him the ball exactly where he wants it. It's a deeply one-sided relationship with Kageyama entirely in control, which, while Kageyama has a team that can match his skill, he's not drawing all of the skills out of them. Their loss against Awa Josai is partially because Oikawa does more to draw out each member of his team. He knows how to draw 100% of their potential out of each player, regardless of their spot on the team. Karasuno, however, still has shackles attached to them. They need this loss to begin to change and to grow. But in comes Takeda-sensei with words of wisdom, as always. He acknowledges the loss, but instead pivots towards the future.
負けは弱さの証明ですか？君たちにとって負けは試練なんじゃないですか？地に這いつくばった後、また立って歩けるのかという。君たちがそこに這いつくばったままならば、それこそが弱さの証明です。
Honestly, you can sum up the entirety of Haikyuu with Takeda-sensei's speech. Karasuno and Hinata's entire journey is the manifestation of those lines. But Karasuno is still a team, and they are all affected by the loss. Coach Ukai's Eat and Grow Stronger speech is his way of echoing Takeda's words to Hinata and Kageyama. The loss still hurts, but it is a chance to grow, and once we enter the training camp arc, we see that Karasuno is given ample time to grow. The training camp arc is where we really focus on the idea of losing as a learning experience. Karasuno loses a lot in the training camp, but it's never looked upon as a bad thing. Training is a chance to experiment, to improve, to evolve, and all of Karasuno evolves in the training camp arc. Hinata and Kageyama begin to understand themselves and slowly but surely reach the newly evolved quick attack. They fail at it time and time again, but eventually it works and they evolve. Tsukishima is finally challenged to care about his spot on the team. Same with Asahi, who has to defend his spot as the ace. And Nishinoya just challenges himself to learn how to set. And all the rest of the team is challenged to continue evolving with them. And it's here we return to Takeda-sensei again, who refocuses this changing Karasuno with yet another speech. He asks of Karasuno,
彼らをただの敵と見るのか、それとも技を吸収すべき師と見るのか。
Takeda-sensei roots the team in a sense of constant growth. Every team at the training camp is one that can be learned from. A lot of the arc focuses on the secondary practices with people like Kuro and Bokuto, who bounce off this fledgling Karasuno and in turn help them evolve by the time everyone gets to the spring tournament. The training camp arc is Karasuno standing up once again and telling the world that they will evolve. As the spring tournament begins, the losers shift. Karasuno are the victors, but Furudate is not content to let those losers be forgotten. Most of the early teams are teams we meet for the first and last time, but they leave a very lasting impression. The first losing team we come into contact with is Ogi Minami High. Looking at their team after losing, the message is similar to Karasuno after losing to Aoba Josai. The key difference being that they have basically accepted defeat to Shiro Torizawa before they even begin their match against Karasuno. It's here we're introduced to Akimiya, who is the emotional core of their team despite retiring from the team after their prior loss. He knows losing, and we see the tears he has shed and already bear the full weight of that emotion. But since he knows that pain, the one thing he can still do as their former captain is imbue that knowledge and help his team grow. He acknowledges the pain of losing, but he reminds them that pain is what helps us grow. It helped Karasuno grow, it'll help Ogi Minami grow, and it'll help every team in every sport ever. True defeat only comes when you forget the pain of losing and content yourself with your place being worse. The thematic reason Karasuno wins is because they are intent on winning, on evolving. Their victory is assured from their first interaction. Kawada already assumes he'll lose to Shiratorizawa, while Hinata states plainly that he will get to the top. Hinata Shoyo will never be content without being the best, but that's what makes him so compelling. Hinata and Karasuno continue onward while they reach their next opponent, Kakugawa High. Kakugawa High is an interesting losing team because it shows how much humanity Furodate imbues in teams that we will never see again in the story. They lose to Karasuno, but they're not written off. Ukai sees the potential in their team. He imagines that Yakuzawa will get even taller and become better at volleyball. We don't see what becomes of Kakugawa High as a whole, but we are given enough to envision the future where they get stronger. And this is what truly elevates Haikyuu's losing teams. They're all still full of potential. Their loss will spur them onwards to improve, even if we never see them again in action. We know that they will still grow and get better. And as Karasuno wins, we see them that they're still evolving and getting better. Jozenji High's loss echoes closer to Ogi Minami's, but with a focus on freedom and enjoyment. They're a team that likes to have fun, but losing isn't fun. Their definitive moment is when their manager Misaki whips them back into shape, repeating the same sentiment as their former captain, which is that fun is allowed to be had, but losing isn't fun. And sometimes you need to focus and really start hammering in on the things that will win games instead of just trying to flippantly have fun without a care of how the match goes. Sometimes they have to lock in. But with their loss, Karasuno still trudges forward onto Wakutani Minami High School. Wakutani Minami High's loss is a much closer one than the prior few. It's our first of the Little Giant battles, where we see Hinata begin to shift away from the traditional Little Giant idea into his new form as the greatest decoy. Nakajima sees the disparity between himself and Hinata, but he still wants to play. He still wants to play. Oba Josai's loss to Karasuno is one of the many turning points of the series. They got the run back and defeated Oikawa. The evolved Karasuno takes the win, but Oba Josai still shows its composure as a team even after losing. But that's only after letting the tears out first. It was a truly well-played game, and they all deserve a good emotional release. They may have regrets, but they're still a team. Iwaizumi has allowed his frustrations, but Oikawa and the other third years are there for him, each giving him a firm smack on the back. No words are exchanged, but it conveys everything it will ever need to. It was a job well done, but sometimes you just lose. It's the greatest testament to Oba Josai and the environment they've created as a team. Oikawa brought out 110% of them on the court, but even once the final set finished, they all still care about each other. Volleyball is a team sport, so naturally bonds are going to form, and it's those bonds that can carry a team over the hurdle of loss and lend each other the hands needed to get back up for the next round. Meanwhile, Karasuno will still continue forward as they face Shiratorizawa. Shiratorizawa's loss to Karasuno is a lesson on hubris. One of the first counts we get from Shiratorizawa after their loss is from Shirabu, who marks that he didn't think they could lose the match. None of the team thought they would lose, but they still did. Ushijima and Washijo want to deny that Hinata could surpass him, but Hinata is the winner this time. Ushijima was confident he was better, however, Hinata was still the victor. Ushijima isn't the sole focus of their loss, and we are reminded he is still the captain of the team in the scene after their loss, where we return to Shiratorizawa's practice, where Ushijima does something that really stood out to me. He singles out each and every member of the team and gives them advice to improve. He may have lost to pride, but he is still a captain of the team. His final words Togoshiki leave us with an emotional stinger. They may have lost this time, the third years may be moving on, but Ushijima leaves the team in capable hands. There is no hesitation in his words, nothing to nitpick. He just tells him that
五色
はい。
頼むぞ
Meanwhile, after another rest and a training arc, Karasuno returns to the court for their first national match against Tsubakihara Academy. Tsubakihara Academy's loss to Karasuno isn't given as much of a focus. However, there is still a loss that echoes in their mind, that they stood on the same stage last year and lost there too. They made it up to nationals and nerves got the best of them in the first round. Their match with Karasuno was the team constantly trying not to repeat that experience. And for what it's worth, they don't. They just happen to be playing against a Karasuno that has just reached a new stage of evolution. And that leads Karasuno straight onto Inarizaki. Inarizaki's loss to Karasuno is one that really celebrates the game of volleyball. It helps that they have Kita Shinsuke, one of my favorite characters in any fiction ever. His presence isn't the most dominant, but he makes every second of it count. His words to his team are ones to celebrate that they got to play an incredibly high-level game of volleyball. They did everything properly, but they still lost. They have nothing to apologize for, even if it seems like the only words you can speak. But even still, a loss is still a bit frustrating. Kita may never be a major volleyball player in the future, but he enjoyed his time spent with this team and can't wait to see what holds for those in the future. He relishes the process and the games in and of themselves. They still lost, but this is one of Haikyuu's few losses that feels more positively cathartic. There's still sadness and frustration, but above all, an incredible game of volleyball was played, and that deserves to be celebrated. Even still, Karasuno heads onward to the long-awaited battle at the garbage dump. Nakoma's loss against Karasuno feels the least like a loss. There are still the stings of loss, but there's a striking moment that sums up the entire Karasuno versus Nakoma match. At the end of the match, we shift to a practice court where we see Karasuno playing against Nakoma. Their match can be summed up best as having the most fun playing volleyball. Nakoma still loses, but Kenwa sums it up best when he says,
壮大な世界を駆け巡るでもなく、ただ 9×18 メートルの四角の中でボールを落とさないことに必死になるだけ。
The Karasuno Nakoma match is an absolute blast, and it's a great reminder that volleyball is fun whether you win or lose. Hinata is immediately ready to go again next year. The whole match is one of the best in the series, and everyone is just having the greatest time. Win or lose, volleyball is still fun to everyone involved. A loss will still sting, but for many there's always next year. Volleyball will still be fun tomorrow, and sometimes the match can transcend the court to just being friends having one more game. Nakoma's journey ends here, but Karasuno continues onward to face Kamomedai. Kamomedai marks an important point in Karasuno's career. Their loss against Kamomedai is less about Karasuno as a whole, but more about Hinata and Haikyuu as a whole. Karasuno's defeat is sealed when Hinata gets sick after running on maximum output for too long, and Takeda Sensei returns for the most important and impactful moment in the series. He understands Hinata is hurting in his soul that he is not allowed to be out there playing against Kamomedai. But as always, Takeda Sensei is able to turn this moment into a learning experience. He tells him to never forget the feeling of being taken off the court, to learn from what happens to make himself a better person and a better player. This culminates in one of Haikyuu's strongest lines from Takeda Sensei, where he tells Hinata, after reminding him of the disparity his stature will give him, where he says, "You of all people must always be prepared at a moment's notice. Be the one that's always at the very front of the line when opportunity comes knocking." The message of Karasuno's loss is to continue onward, to continue to grow. Everyone will taste defeat, but it's only those brave enough, those bold enough to follow the difficult, demanding path of competition who have the right to reap the wealth of experiences and memories it can bring. Today, you happen to be the defeated, but what will you become tomorrow? Haikyuu is a story about losing and what comes from losing. Karasuno loses a lot over the course of the series, less so in official matches, but the countless times they lose during the training arcs highlight one of the core themes of Haikyuu. Losing is an opportunity for growth, but also makes the wins feel even better. The highs of winning won't hit as hard without knowing equal amounts of loss. The same feeling can be felt across mediums. Dark Souls is a franchise basically predicated on that feeling of finally being able to beat a hard boss. Making art is the process of trial and error until eventually things go right. During the training arcs, Kazuno messes up a lot, but is never frowned upon. When Hinata's missing the new and improved quick, it's not treated as a complete failure. It's treated as a step in the right direction. Eventually it will work, and the times it does during matches hit even harder. So many character arcs in Haikyuu revolve around finally beating a specific task, finally evolving to a certain point. Tsukishima's big moment in the Shiratorizawa match is him finally beating Ushijima's block. Yamaguchi beats his nerves. The list goes on. My love of Haikyuu stems in large part due to how it treats improvement as a journey. Whenever I feel discouraged, I remember that this is still volleyball.
どや俺の仲間すごいやろってもっと言いたかったわ